it's Dr. Betsy Greenleaf again with another episode of Body, Mind, Spirit. And since it is the month of February, we've been talking about relationships. We're going to talk today actually about betrayal and how to overcome it. And I'm so excited to have with us the top expert in the field, Dr. Debi Silber, whose specialty is post-betrayal syndrome. Thank you so much, Dr. Debi, for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me. Looking forward to our conversation.
Ever since I first heard about this syndrome and the work that you do, I've just been absolutely fascinated with it. But how did you end up getting into this field?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody goes into it saying, "Oh, I want to study betrayal." You don't study betrayal unless you need to. So I had a really painful family betrayal, and thought I healed from it. Thought I did okay, but then years later had another kind of opportunity, and this time it was my husband. And just like anybody who's been through it, I was devastated. I was blindsided, but I was determined to understand anything about this. So for me, it seems kind of crazy. I mean, not what many people may do coming off of betrayal, but I dove into a PhD program in transpersonal psychology, the psychology of transformation and human potential, because I wanted to understand how the mind works, why people do these things, and how I could heal. And
You
I was really undergoing this transformation. My husband separately was too. And then it was time to do a study. So I studied betrayal, what holds us back, what helps us heal, and what happens to us physically, mentally, and emotionally when the people closest to us lie, cheat, and deceive. And that study led to 3 groundbreaking discoveries, which changed my health, my family, my life. And here we are.
I think it's so amazing. And I think that, a lot of people have heard of post-traumatic syndrome,
Mhm.
which you were able to connect a lot of the similarities between what a lot of us have heard and being able to actually coin the term post-betrayal syndrome.
Yeah, it's very real. That was one of the discoveries. We found that there is this collection of symptoms so common to betrayal that it's now known as post-betrayal syndrome. And we've had a quiz up for about a year and a half or so, and now it's close to 13,000 people who've taken it. And it's so interesting because we've all heard time heals all wounds. And I have the proof when it comes to betrayal, that's just not true. And, every few months or so, I'll gather data from the quiz results, and I pulled some stats. I mean, I'm happy to share it with you.
That would be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. It's so, it hits us on so many levels, because think about it. When we're betrayed, we're not betrayed by people we don't know. These are the people we're closest to. These are the people who say, you know what, when the world is making you crazy, you're safe with me. I got you. These are the people who give us a sense of safety and security. So when that safety and security is shattered, it does damage physically, mentally, and emotionally. So these are just some of the symptoms. So let's see. 80% are hypervigilant. 94% deal with painful triggers. Uh, so here are just some physical symptoms. 71% have low energy. 68% have sleep issues. 63% extreme fatigue. 47% have weight changes. 45% have digestive issues. That's just physical. Add in some mental symptoms. 78% are overwhelmed, 70% disbelief, 68% unable to focus, and 62% are unable to concentrate. So now just to imagine, here you are exhausted, and now you can't even concentrate on your work or whatever else you're doing. That's not even the emotional one. So here are some emotional symptoms. 88% are sad, deep sadness. 83% angry. Just mix sadness and anger. I mean, that's lethal right there. 80% are anxious. 79% are stressed. Here's why I wrote the book, Trust Again. 84% have an inability to trust. 67% prevent themselves from forming deep relationships because they're afraid of being hurt again. 82% find it hard to move forward. 90% want to move forward, but they don't know how.
That's a really good point. And I was going to ask you that specifically is, like you said, these are people that we trust,
Mhm.
I bring up that I talked to you years ago because I had a coworker who was a mentor and that I believed in the guy who trained me, and
Mhm.
I, you know, basically got screwed over by him, and then I found myself in this pattern of taking bad jobs one after another because I just couldn't open myself up. So here it is. You have somebody who's done something to you. You're
Mhm.
you're kind of basically smacked in the face.
Mhm.
It is not something that you did. How do you get over it now?
Yeah, it's so hard. And here's the thing too. You mentioned something really important. You were betrayed, and then you took a series of bad jobs. And we found that it's so easy to spot an unhealed betrayal because it shows up in our health, in our work, and in our relationships. Like, for example, in relationships, let's just say, if there's a repeat betrayal, that's an unhealed betrayal. So for you, it's like we go from job to job to job, right? Relationship to relationship to relationship, friend to friend, whatever it is. And then you say, is it me? Yes, it is. There's some profound lesson right there that you're needing to learn. And until and unless you do, you keep getting opportunities. So maybe for you, the lesson is you are lovable, worthy, and deserving. Better boundaries, stronger boundaries needed to be in place. And but that's what happens. And we constantly just think, what the heck, is it me? Yes, but here's why, right? Or we see those people who put the big wall up. They're like,
Mm,
nope, been there, done that, no one's getting close to me again. And they think they're doing it out of strength, but it's really out of fear. That's a sign
mm,
of an unhealed betrayal. And in work too, and I don't know if this was the case with you, but think about it. If the person closest to you shattered trust and betrayed you, how likely is it that you feel safe trusting a boss or a coworker, or being in on that collaborative project? Or your confidence was shattered, so you want to ask for that raise or promotion, you deserve it, but think about it, your confidence was shattered, so you don't, and you're bitter and resentful instead. So it shows up in so many different ways. And to get back to your question, how do we get through it? The first thing is to identify what stage you're in. And that was actually the second discovery, that while we can stay stuck for years, decades, a lifetime, if we're going to fully heal, we're going to move through 5 now proven predictable stages. What's so interesting is most people stop at stage 3. And I'm happy to go through them if you want.
yeah, that would be great.
Sure. So the first is like a setup stage. And I saw this with every study participant, me too. If you imagine 4 legs of a table, the 4 legs being physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, what I saw with everybody was this real heavy lean on the physical and the mental, and kind of neglecting the emotional and the spiritual. So what does that look like? Looks like we're really good at thinking and doing, and kind of not really prioritizing the feeling and being. But it's in the feeling and being where our intuition lies, and we turn that down. Anyway, if a table had 2 legs, easy for that table to topple over, that's us. That's not to say if you're just busy doing things, it's a setup for betrayal. It's just what I saw. Stage 2. This is the scariest stage by far. And this is the shock. D-Day, Discovery Day. This is like when that person takes the mask off, saying, no, no, this is who I've really been. And it's the breakdown of the body, the mind, and the worldview. Right in that moment, the stress response is ignited. You are headed for just about every single stress related symptom, illness, condition, disease. Your mind is in a complete state of overwhelming chaos. Like, I'm sure when, this mentor of yours revealed that betrayal, or you discovered it, you can't understand it. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
And your worldview is shattered. That's your mental model. These are the rules. Don't go there. This is how it works. And in a moment, it's completely shattered. Here's truly when the bottoms out on you. And there's no other bottom. So it's terrifying. But think about it. If you were like, let's say you were walking down the street and the bottomed out on you, what would you do? You'd grab hold of anything and everything you could to stay alive. And that's stage 3. Survival instincts emerge. It's the most practical stage. And if you remember back on your experience, I'm sure you went through this. How will I survive this experience? Who can I trust? Where do I go? What do I do? But here's the trap. Once we figured out how to survive it, we think like this. That was okay. I got this. And it's so much better than the shock and trauma that we just experienced, that we think this is good. So we stay. And then what happens is the longer we stay here, we start getting these small self benefits from being here. We get to be right. We get someone to blame. We get a target for our anger, right? And then the mind starts doing things like, well, maybe you deserved it.
Yeah.
Maybe you brought this on. Maybe you're not all that. And we start planting deeper and deeper roots. And then like energy attracts like energy. So now you're calling circumstances and situations and people towards you to confirm this is where you belong. And it gets deeper. I'll get you out of it, don't worry. But now, because you're here and you don't like it, but you don't think there's anything better. You don't know about stage 4 and stage 5. Because you're here and you're not, and you're unhappy, you're struggling. Here's where you start using things like food, drugs, alcohol, work, TV, keeping busy, reckless behavior, because you don't know there's anything better. So now think about it. You do that for a day, a week, a month, a year, 10 years, 20 years. It's a habit now. So when I see people and and I say, well, you know what, that eating, the emotional eating you're doing, or the drinking has to do with your betrayal, they say, oh my gosh, that happened years ago. But you see, they never got past stage 3. So that's why that's the most common place to get stuck. But stage 4, if you're willing to give up your story and all the benefits you get from it, you can move to stage 4. Stage 4 is finding and adjusting to a new normal. Here's where you realize, you know what? My old normal doesn't exist. I cannot undo this experience, but I can control how I let it affect me. So this is like if you've ever moved to a new house, office, condo, apartment, whatever. All your stuff isn't there. It's not cozy, but it's going to be okay. And when you're in this place, you start turning down the stress response. You're not healing just yet, but you're not creating the massive damage you were creating in stage 2 and stage 3. But also what I found so interesting to this stage is, think about it. If you're moving, you don't pack and bring everything with you, right? You don't bring the things that don't represent who you want to be in your new space. And I found if your friends weren't there for you, you don't take them with you. Here's where you've outgrown your relationship. So I have people saying to me all the time, Dr. Debbie, I've had these friends for 10, 20 years. What the heck? Is it me? Yes, it is. You've outgrown them right here. And you just don't, and it happens so often. So if that's going on, no fear. That's what's happening. Anyway, when you're in this stage and you're making it comfortable, you're making it your own, you can slowly morph into the 5th most beautiful stage. And this is healing, rebirth, and a new worldview. You've turned down the stress response. Your body starts to heal. Now you want to eat well. You want to exercise. You want to give yourself some self-love and self-care. You didn't have the bandwidth for that earlier. You were surviving. Your mind is totally different because you have new rules, new boundaries based on what you've been through. And you have a new worldview based on your experience. And the 4 legs of the table, remember in the beginning, it was all about the physical and the mental. Now we're solidly grounded because we're focused on the emotional and the spiritual too. Those are the 5 stages.
That is really amazing. And, we're going to take a commercial break and we'll come back with Dr. Debbie to talk more about post-betrayal syndrome.
Swing Into Their Dreams Foundation presents the golf tournament of the year, raising scholarships for aspiring National Golf Club in Milton, Georgia. The inaugural HBCU Swing Into Their Dreams Charity Golf Tournament. Registration and gourmet continental breakfast begins at 8 a.m. and shotgun at 10 a.m. Award reception follows. Come enjoy a day of jazz, mimosa, cigars, cash bar, silent auction, and more. For more information, contact 770-686-71 their dreams. Don't miss it.
And we're back here again with Dr. Debi Silber talking about post-betrayal syndrome. So before the break, Dr. Debi, you went over the stages with us. So, it sounds like, and it doesn't surprise me that so many people would be stuck in the 3rd stage. So, and you were saying that talking about 3, there was you had a 3rd study. that went with this. What did you find in your third study?
The third discovery,
Oh,
yeah.
for discovery.
So originally, listen, betrayal is a dark topic. So I always like kind of the upside. So I was originally studying betrayal and post-traumatic growth. And post-traumatic growth is kind of the upside of any trauma, how that trauma leaves you with a new perspective, insight, awareness that you didn't have before. But I had been through death of a loved one. I've been through disease. I was in the ICU for 11 days. But I felt like betrayal just felt so different for me, but I didn't want to assume. So I asked all my study participants and I said, if you've been through a different type of trauma besides betrayal, does it feel different for you? Hands down, unanimously, they said, oh my gosh, it's so different. So it needed its own name. That new term is called post-betrayal transformation. And here's why. When you, like, let's say you lose someone you love, like post-traumatic growth is the growth, the awareness from any type of trauma. But think about it. If you lose someone you love, you don't necessarily take it personally. If you've been through an accident, you don't necessarily take it personally. Betrayal feels so intentional. So we take it so personally. So the whole self has to be rebuilt. Rejection, abandonment, confidence, worthiness, belonging, trust. These are huge and they all have to be rebuilt. So if I were to come up with an equation, it would be this: post-traumatic growth plus rebuilding the self equals post-betrayal transformation. When you're at that space, I don't know if there's anybody stronger. You have rebuilt from the shattering of just about everything. You've created this new identity. I mean, here's also what I learned. Rebuilding is always an option, whether you rebuild yourself and move on. And that's what I did with my family. It was not an option to rebuild with them. Or if the situation lends itself, if you're willing, if you want to, you can rebuild something entirely new with the person who hurt you. That's what I did with my husband. So not long ago, we married each other again. New rings, new vows, new dress, and our 4 kids as our bridal party.
Oh, that's wonderful. I remember too, a while ago when I talked to you, you used this analogy about a house burning down and rebuilding the house.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do that? Yeah.
Sure. This is, resilience. Here's the difference between resilience and transformation. Resilience you need for your everyday. And that's bouncing back, restoring. So using that analogy of the house, let's say a house needs a boiler. And you get a boiler, that would be resilience. You're restoring, right? If it needs a new roof, and you get that new roof, that would be resilience. You're bringing it back, you're restoring. Here's trauma and transformation. A tornado comes by and levels your house. A boiler's not going to fix it, and a roof's not going to fix it. And in fact, both of those things will not fix it. But here's the thing. You have every right to stand there at the lot where your house once stood and say, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. And you'd be right. And then you can call over everybody you know and say, look at this. Isn't this the most tragic thing you've ever seen? And every single person there would agree. And you have every right to mourn the loss of your house until your last breath, right? However, should you choose to rebuild your house, you don't have to, but if you choose to, why build the same house? There's nothing there, right? Why not give it everything the old house didn't have? Why not make it bigger, better, more beautiful, whatever you want, right? That's the beauty. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's the beauty of betrayal. It levels everything. And you have the right and the opportunity to say, you know what? I'm not the least bit interested in rebuilding this. And that's totally fine. But if you choose to rebuild it, you could create whatever you want. That's transformation. Trauma is the setup for transformation.
I love that analogy. I think that's one of my favorite things. Yeah. And then you have a book out. So
I do.
What's the name of your book?
Yeah, so it's Trust Again, Overcoming Betrayal and Regaining Health, Confidence, and Happiness. And what this is, the book was written, what happened was when I did the study, you have to write this PhD dissertation, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours, and the discoveries and all of this. And then I'm like, we only have a few people reading this thing. That's not right. So what I did was I made it much more reader friendly. And what's in the book is, this isn't a book you read, it's a book you do. And I have all my study participants in there. And you see their stories and how they move through their experience. And the idea is this way, the reader's like, oh my gosh, I'm not crazy and I'm not alone. And then I walk you through the 5 stages. So you know exactly where you are and how to predictably move from one stage to the next. I teach my 4-step trust rebuilding process. And it's so the reason why I also wrote Trust Again was because at a time where we need support the most, we're the least likely to seek it because there's so much shame. There's so much embarrassment. Like, we're in a club we never wanted to be in. So at the very least, here's a book for you where you get the right type of support, because the wrong type of support does more harm than good. I see this all the time.
What would be an example of the wrong type of support?
So common example, let's just say there's a husband and wife, and let's say the husband's a narcissist and he has an affair. And she's able to she's brokenhearted, devastated, of course, and she's able to drag him to therapy, to a counselor. And if that counselor is not highly skilled, the narcissist is very charming, may even, the crocodile tears, the works. So the counselor looks at the betrayed, the woman, the wife, and says, oh my gosh, you know what? If you learned how to communicate better, this may not have happened. Or let's just say that same couple, she's devastated, brokenhearted. She reaches out to her mother-in-law. Well, the mother-in-law doesn't want to see the family broken up, right? So she's like, it'll be okay. Just get over it. It's not that bad, So it's as if it weren't so painful enough. When we don't have the right type of support, we're already questioning our very sanity. And betrayal shatters trust in, of course, in the betrayer, but it shatters trust in ourselves too, because we say, I'm a brave person. How did I not see? How did I not know? What's wrong with me? And the right support, that's what we have in the PBT community. It's support, letting you know you're not crazy, you're not alone, and you could heal from all of it. And it's not also, I did a whole bunch of research when I put the community together, and I saw people do one of 3 things. They'll see a therapist, and that's just the cognitive part. It hits us on every level. We need to do more than that. Or it's so painful, so they'll just medicate, numb, avoid, whatever. And I get it. It makes the day a bit easier, but it's not healing. It's not healing you. Or they find some sort of support group, and it's like the Ain't It Awful Club. This happened to me. Oh, you think that's bad? And when you start feeling a little bit better, you don't belong. And I was like, ooh, I don't, we need a better way. So we created the PBT community.
And can you talk a little bit about what is the PBT community and what programs do you have?
Yeah, so the PBT Institute, which stands for Post Betrayal Transformation Institute, it's the only membership community to help somebody heal from the betrayal of a family member, partner, friend, coworker, self, physically, mentally, and emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. So to create it, what I did was, we've had 13,000 people take that post-betrayal syndrome quiz, took a look and said, what is it that people are sharing about what they need? I took a look at those 3 things that I don't feel is enough or, is working. And I took what the study proved we need to heal and put it in its own sort of ecosystem. So that's what the community has. And there's the program, our signature Betrayal to Breakthrough program, which predictably walks you through the 5 stages. The programs are there, which people can access 24/7. We have live daily classes with our certified coaches. We bring in master classes with experts. I'm in there a bunch of times a week doing open Q&A. And we have the most amazing forum where people comment and share and lift and inspire. And everything's recorded and available. So people dive in there. And we even have the most amazing welcoming process, because I'm really shy. And when you go to a networking event or something and you're new and awkward and it feels so weird. So we have the most beautiful welcoming process where our community engagement manager meets with somebody to find out who would be the best coach for them to take classes with. And if they want to buddy up with someone, we can work that out for them too. So it's all designed to help people move through their experience, from wherever they are, get to that place of post-betrayal transformation.
This is great too, because you can be anywhere in the world and have access to this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's what I think is absolutely amazing, because you now can reach and touch so many more people in
Yeah.
this format. And I think that's just absolutely amazing.
I mean, we have people from all over the world. We had a coach who she was from Slovenia. I don't even know where Slovenia is. And we have people from Australia and England and I mean all over. It's amazing. And the classes may not be offered necessarily at a time that's convenient for them, but that's why they access the replays and they love it.
Thank you so much for, thank God that you went through this. I'm sure you didn't think that at the time, but to be somebody that's so resourceful, then got a PhD in this and then created this program for other people. I think it's, just absolutely amazing.
Oh, thanks. Well, you know what? I remember thinking, if I get through this, if I manage to heal, I'm taking everybody with me. Because otherwise it's just like a bad game of hot potato. Like you just feel so ripped off. And I'm like, there's got to be a reason. I'm sure I didn't sign up to be the poster child for betrayal. So there's got to be a reason that this happened. So why not do something good with it? And I'm a believer that I didn't do anything that anybody watching this couldn't do. I just took something really bad and did something, helpful with it. And every negative experience, I don't know, I feel we kind of have an obligation. If we learn something, pass it on, help somebody else with it.
One of my favorite sayings that somebody told me years ago, and I use it all the time, but your mess is your message.
Yeah.
And so, the things that you've gone through, you need to share with them because there's somebody else that can learn and grow from it. So
100%. And I'll tell you, all of our coaches, that's what's so amazing. They heal from their own betrayal and they're so excited, they can't help but want to share it. And that was one of the biggest reasons why I created our certification program. So they have a way to pass it on. So
where can people find out more about you and your program?
The best thing to do is to take that post-betrayal syndrome quiz. They could just find that at the PBT, as in post-betrayal transformation, thepbtinstitute.com/quiz.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Debi, for being with us here today and for sharing your work.
Thank you for giving me and people like us an opportunity. Thank you.
Can people follow you on social media too?
Of course. My name.
All right, perfect. And I would just like to thank our listeners and our viewers for watching today's show. If you feel moved to help the channel by donating, please go to WYTV7.org. The money that is donated not only helps to support programs like this, but also helps to support programs in the community. And you can find out more about that at WYTV7.org. Also, to find out more about me, go to drbetsygreenleaf.com and follow me on social media. So once again, thank you, Dr. Debi Silber, for being with us today.
Thank you. It's been an honor.